information. All right, Mastermind with Neil Schwartz live is on board. We're going live right now. We've got Stephen and Armando. We brought in a lender and an appraiser to talk more about some appraisal issues that we've been having. And as the market shifts and the interest rates rise a little bit, in fact, Armando, what are interest rates today?
So depending on the file, we're now in the mid 3s to mid 4s, depending on the file. So we've definitely gone up about 1.25% since the last time we were on here, and we expect them to continue to go up a little bit more until it stabilizes here, just with market indicators.
So let me ask you a question as we're going through this today. Briefly, I'm not putting you on the spot for the payment, but 1% on a $700,000 house with 25% down, let's say a $500,000 loan, okay?
Yeah.
You got a $500,000 loan and 1% increase would be approximately how many dollars a month?
About $417.
$417. So it'd be $400 a month increase, and $400 a month, does that service about $100,000 of mortgage?
Depending on the sales price, it would probably be about 60 to 100,000, correct?
Okay, all right. So basically, if somebody could afford 800,000 yesterday or the day before, and interest rates went up 1% last night, today I could only afford a $700,000 house. Is that kind of the story here?
Yeah, close to it. We are seeing some people that are kind of pricing themselves out of the market, and at the same time, values keep going up. So it's, there's got to be a little bit of urgency right now for the buyers.
How about a lot of urgency? So hopefully that frames kind of where you guys want to go with this thing. And we want to learn about appraisals. We want to learn about what we may be facing with the loans and things like that. And Armando or Steve, you guys want to take it away?
Yeah, absolutely.
You want me to go, Armando? Can you scroll down on the appraisal?
Yeah, sure. So Stephen is one of the appraisers we work with. I know some of you all through kind of coming here. Stephen is my favorite appraiser to work with because he's super thorough, but he's always very helpful. So I asked him to kind of help us do this. He's going to go over kind of a quirky appraisal on a 2-unit property that was overbid to where the appraisal kind of came in short. So I found a complicated one so that we can talk about a whole bunch of different things. But if you do have questions, please type them in the chat, and we'll do our very best to kind of answer them as we go, if that's okay. And then Stephen, if you need me to scroll up or down, just let me know as well.
Can you make it a little bit smaller? Because kind of.
Is that good?
That's perfect. Yeah.
Now I can't see it at all.
Oh, you can't?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. And we can go scroll down. Well, basically, my name's Steven. I've been doing it. I'm a certified appraiser. I've been doing this for around 18, 19 years. And basically, we're just going to go over the appraisal. You guys are going to have more questions than what I'm going to talk about. So go ahead and you can just basically the front page you guys all see in appraisal. This is basically all the information that comes with an appraisal. Just it's mostly data entry, the sales price, the address, APN. If you can just scroll down a little bit. And basically this front page, the most important issue we always run with in appraisals is the zoning. As far as 2 units, this is very important right here, where sometimes we do an appraisal and it's zone R1 and there's 2 units. So when that situation happens, it's legal non-conforming. You see this little where it says legal non-conforming, no zoning illegal. That's basically, as an agent, when you list a property, it's important that you find out what the zoning is of the property, especially if it's a duplex, triplex, or quadruplex, and you got to make sure it's legal or legal non-conforming. Basically, legal non-conforming is if you're on an R1 zone, which is for 1 unit, and you have 2 or 3 or 4 units. So the problem we run with there is we need to find out if it's destroyed, if it can be rebuilt if it's destroyed. So you need to get a rebuilt letter so you can stay ahead of it. It might cause problems later on in the transaction. That's what I'm saying. Armando, do you have anything to say about that? Or?
Does anyone have questions on that legal non-conforming situation? Anyone ever see it? No?
Yeah, I have. We run into that over the years quite often, where you can't rebuild the property, and then we run into what you can sell it for. You can't rebuild it as a duplex. You have to rebuild it as a single family home. How often does that come up, Armando? How often do you guys see that?
We don't see it too often. I think most of the time the listing agent will know that it's zoned legal non-conforming, and they'll address it before. Most of the time the cities are willing to give us that rebuild letter. So like Steven said, if I'm in an industrial area and I own a single family home, if that house burns down, typically the city wants anything that's built on there to conform to the zoning. So in order for us to finance it, or most lenders to finance it, they'll want to see that if the house does burn down or somehow gets destroyed, that the city will allow us to rebuild it as a house and not an industrial warehouse or whatever the standard neighborhood is. Most of the time they will do it, but I've had two cases in my career where we were not able to obtain the rebuild letter. And because of that, we're unable to finance a home with a conventional or FHA financing. At that point, we are looking at a private money investor or something that's a little bit more lenient with those types of rules. Does that kind of answer it?
Yeah, thanks.
Steven, you want me to scroll down more?
Yeah, this front page is basically just the specifics about the property, the square footage, the bedroom and bath count. It's basically data entry for when I go to inspection and get the information. The next page, if you go to the next page.
Where was this property?
It was in LA, like in East LA.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in East LA. It was a duplex. Obviously, it was legal that it was zoned for 2 units. In this situation right here, this is basically all your rentals right here for the duplex. So basically, what I do is I try to find within 6 months, within a mile, similar square footage, similar bed and bath count duplexes to put in this area, and this is where I come up with my market rent. Can you scroll down a little bit? Sorry, Armando. Right here is where actual rent. That's what actually the tenants are paying. In this situation, they're both owner occupied, so there's no rents being paid right here. On the right hand side of this right here, which says opinion of market rent, that's basically what I feel is what the market rent in the area is for this duplex for each unit. It's totally.
Where do you get that information, Steve?
There's a couple of ways. The way I go is I go through MLS and I talk to agents and I figure out what the market rent is. So a lot of the times when you look at MLS, the rents are low on there. So what I gotta do a little bit more research, and I gotta talk to agents and see. Maybe sometimes they rent to their own family members, and sometimes they're not. I look for market rents that they're true market rents. So I don't use. So I mean, Armando was talking about that this the other day about market rents, right, Armando? About telling agents to put the actual rent on there, what the rent is, not to to be careful on what you put on there.
Yeah, so Steven's pretty mindful, but most appraisers, and you may have run into this in the past if you've listed, multiple units, most appraisers will list on the appraisal whatever the MLS shows as a rent. So if you have a listing that the rents are really low because the tenants have been there for a long time, or maybe they live with their family, and the market rents are $1,400 or $1,500, but the current rent is $700. If we list that on there, most appraisers will list that on their appraisal report. And if you're in a situation where your buyer is using the rental income to qualify, well, the underwriter will use the actual rents, not the projected market rents for those qualifications. And sometimes that could put us in a place where the client doesn't qualify. Another thing is, if you're doing an FHA loan, there's some are still around, but if you have a 3 or 4 unit property, the rents for the 4 units have to cover the payment with a 25% vacancy. So that means that if your rents are $1,000 per unit, you have $4,000 in total rent. That means that your mortgage payment can be a maximum of $3,000. So if those rents are listed incorrectly or too low, you could put your buyer in a place where they're unable to finance a home with an FHA loan. because it doesn't pass the debt servicing test. So always super important if you're listing 2, 3, or 4 units with rents, maybe get with your lender or call me, and I can guide you on how to make that happen. Steven, you good?
Yeah, any questions on the rents or?
No? All
I
right.
think Cindy
Go to-
has,
I
she's
have a
on mute though.
question. So
Go.
my question is, are you saying that you're not going to put the actual rents? You're gonna tell the lender something other than that?
No. What I'm saying is that the actual rents are what the actual rents are. I'm talking about the market rent. My opinion, that's where I had to look into what the actual rents are, because a lot of the times I won't use rents from the MLS if I see them they're too low. You know what I'm saying? But the actual rents are even if you rent to a family member for $100, I got to put it on there. But what the lender goes off is that opinion of market rent. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, I get it. Does that take into, I assume you take into account rent control, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I mean, of course.
But
You
to
know,
clarify on that, Cindy, is some appraisers will list the market rent and the actual rents the same. So
Exactly.
in that case, if you list your market rents really low, the appraiser will use that, and it could put you in a place where the buyer might have some difficulties. So sometimes we list market rents, or we list actual rents, but not market rents on MLS. And if that's all they see, that's what they'll put on the report. And so I'm saying it's important to show both, even if your rents are low, but the market is much higher, because an appraiser will use that. And in areas where they're not rent controlled, the underwriter will still want to go with what's most conservative if that's all we're showing.
Thank you very much. That helped.
This is Iris. I have a question. How long does it take to get the review letter from city?
That's a great question. Some cities are really fast where you can just download it online and pay the fee. Some cities you have to go to the city and talk to somebody in the planning department, and that can take a little bit longer. There's usually a fee. The lowest I've seen is about $75, and the highest I've seen was $225. So again, it's something important to know up front, especially if you're taking a listing. Maybe it might be a good idea to pull that rebuild letter before it goes on the market, so that at least your buyers are prepared and you can market it as such.
Thank you.
Of course. Anyone else have questions before we move on to the actual comps? No. All right, Steven.
Okay.
Absolutely. Armando,
Yes.
yeah, we're just going through that situation. I have exactly the situation you just describing. We just got an appraisal done in 3 units, and the appraisal put whatever he wants on the rents. And now the lender called me that it's affecting the buyer.
Yeah, it's common. It's a good idea to always communicate with the lender when you're using rental income to qualify. We try to look at them up front, so that if it's something we have to address before Steven gets the order, or whatever appraiser gets the order, we try to look at what's listed just to kind of anticipate it. But we don't do as many units anymore. So if you have a lender that is not mindful of that, it could blow up once it's too late.
Yeah, I'm representing the seller, but they called me the appraiser just used whatever numbers. He's not even using the numbers I listed in the MLS.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they way lower than what it's supposed to be. So
You know, let me stop right there just for a second, you guys, because this kind of thing happens quite often, where you're maybe an appraiser really isn't familiar with the area, or maybe they're doing units and they really don't do units on a regular basis, et cetera, et cetera. How can we get involved and change that? I know the laws changed dramatically in about 2012 or 13 on what, how could you assign things. What was the year, Stephen, that they changed the laws on this stuff for appraisers?
It's called HVCC. I think it was 2000. I think it was 2011 or 12.
Okay, so
But you know what, that law's gone. You know that it expired.
No, I didn't. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's called HVCC, and it was actually Cuomo who came up with that, and the banks are making so much money off the AMCs. That's why they kept it, basically. That's what I mean, there's no more, it's not even just the banks use that because that's what they got used to it and they're making money off of the appraisal management companies. So,
Interesting.
so when you guys pay the AMC, we don't get all that money. We only get a percentage of it. So they take their cut and they're making money and everyone's happy. And plus, also they don't want the lender to control the appraisal because they don't want to influence us. That's what they think is, what's going on. So that's why they kept the law intact.
So the law is gone or it is there?
Yeah, it expired. Well, that's what I read, that there's no even HVCC anymore. Just everyone's following it because it worked,
Got it. Okay.
So,
All right. So in this situation that Juan's running into, does he have any recourse? Can he pull the loan and give?
what area are you at in Palm
I'm at-
Springs?
No, yes. Mhm.
Was the appraiser from Palm Springs?
That was, no, he was out of the area.
Yeah, then usually when you set your appointment up, I would ask if the appraiser, where's he from, and that basically will tell you right then and there what I mean, if his expertise, if he's from like Whittier and he goes to Palm Springs, then that's not a good situation. You got to get someone from the area.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Everything else, it comes out clear. It's all clean. It came at a value, but the thing where he messed up, he just throw numbers, random numbers, in that rent. It wasn't even close to what we have it in the MLS, and not even. This lady's been renting those units for 4 years, never raised the price. So now they even higher than what they show in the MLS. But he used lower numbers than that, so that's what it messed things up right now. The lender.
Yeah, I would talk to your lender and see what he can do. Talk to the manager company and get another appraiser out there that from the area.
So
Okay.
that's the recourse that we do have, Steve. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can really do. I mean, you can rebuttal the numbers, but as far as next time, just ask the appraiser where he's from before he even set the appointment up.
Yeah.
Because that will tell you, if you know the area.
Well, let me ask you this, Stephen. If there is a contract, lease agreements with the other units, they paying that much, would that affect for them to fix whatever he put there?
Yeah, I mean, I would show him your lease agreements and tell him what everything's ready for. Maybe you can change them.
Sounds good. Mhm.
You see, there's some appraisers that won't even look at that. But as an appraiser, I make mistakes too. I mean, if I missed a comp or I missed a rental, I will change it and make it correct. Some appraisers are very stubborn and they will not change their ways. They think they're right and that's it. But I mean, I'm different. I would totally help you out and try to help you out.
And most of the appraisals, I can contact them directly now with this company. With this company,
Yeah.
you have to go through somebody else and then they let them know.
Yeah, I would talk to the lender and ask them if they can help you out and show them the rentals and maybe they can correct it.
All right.
There's
Sounds
nothing
good.
else you can really do.
Yeah,
Sounds good. Thank
from a
you.
lender perspective, to answer Neil's question, is the first thing that I would do on the lender side is I would go back to the management company and show different rental comps. You can do it by just pulling them from MLS or other rentals.
Okay.
And that's called a rebuttal. We can do that if the value comes in short, we can do that as well. For every lender, if the underwriter deems that the appraiser did not do a good job, the underwriter could request a second appraisal. So it would be up to your loan officer to plead the case to the underwriter that the appraiser did not do a great job. And that underwriter could talk to the appraiser, get an idea of whether or not she agrees. Stephen talks to my underwriter all the time. If they don't agree, the underwriter could overwrite that and say, we're going to order another appraisal. So we don't do it often, but it's something that we've done in the past that has helped save deals.
Yeah,
So I would check with that.
And Armando, it's very obvious that he make a mistake because even in one of the units, the owner lives there and he puts a number there, which is supposed to be 0. The owner is living in that particular unit. So he did mess up the whole thing with the rent.
Right. All right. Well, okay. Juan, that got all fixed now?
Yes, sir. That helps.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Steve, Armando, go ahead. Let's move forward here. And but thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, this next page is basically the comparables I picked. Usually when it's units, sometimes it might be a little bit difficult, but usually with my parameters, I go within 6 months, 6 months, sometimes 12 months back but most of the time it's 6 months back, and I try to stay within 20% of the GLA when I pick comparables, and within a mile as well. I try to stay within half a mile, but a mile sometimes when it's a difficult property, you have to go more than a mile, more than 6 months. It just depends on the situation. But in this situation, there's 3 good comps within a mile. So these 3 comps were 550, 570, 600, and they were trying to sell for 625, sorry. So basically we came in below value because it wasn't there. So if you look at you look right here, I have a comp at 1,250 square feet, 1,540, and 1,719. So basically I just bracketed the square footage like I was telling you guys, and these are the 3 best comps in the area. So basically when you pick comps, just try to stay within the same city, 6 months, and within a mile.
Stephen, does it help when the agent brings comps to you?
I mean, sometimes it does, yeah. I mean, I don't discourage it. I'll take the comps. I know some peers get all mad. I don't want these comps. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this, but I'll take the comps because like I said before, sometimes we miss things, sometimes we might not have the comp, or it didn't come up, or something happened. So yeah, I don't mind taking comps. It's fine to me.
Got it.
Like,
Okay.
no one's perfect. So like I said, I can make mistakes. So I'll take anything that will help. Especially another thing you can do is you can help with upgrades, a list of upgrades, what they cost, anything added to the house, like permits, anything will help for an appraiser. It helps us, and let us know before we go out there if there was an addition or there was an added pool. Sometimes we don't have all the information because our information is not updated sometimes. The county doesn't update their square footage sometimes. It's sometimes it can be difficult,
Okay.
Stephen, can I ask a quick question? This is Chris Nguyen.
Yes.
Okay, so one of them is, so you go look back at 6 months, if there's no data, but with the markets being the way it is, like it's uptrending, do you go back to look at 3 months? And do you also look at comps that are sold recently by iBuyers, for example, like Open Door, for example? If those iBuyer who buys the property and they put it back in the market, those count as comps also within less than a mile radius? My second question is, how do you calculate the GMA? Thank you.
What do you mean iBuyers? I'm confused. I don't know I've never heard that iBuyers.
Okay, so for example, you're doing comps and there's a house that was bought by Open Doors, for example, right? And it shows on there, and they bought it for X, right? About like a month ago, and they put it back on the market for a higher price. Would that consider be a comp?
Yeah, as long as it's closed, as long as it was a arm's length transaction and it was closed, yeah, it's a comp.
Okay, it might not be on the MLS, but you have to go look into Realist. Can you use that though?
Yeah, well, what I do is I have a program called Parcel Quest where appraisers use. Yeah, and as long as I can see the conditions of the sale and conditions of the property, I have to somehow find that information. I can use it.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? A lot of times, some sales I can't use if there's no MLS because I don't know anything about the property, so I can't put any. I don't know all the information, so the underwriter or the bank won't let me use that comp because it wasn't marketed. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah, I do. And then my other question is, how do you calculate you look at the 3 for, I know that you guys do a little bit differently, but just in general, like for just saying if for a real estate agent, right, they want to comp out a subject property, right? They want to get a good CMA, and you do the 3 active and 3 sold and whatever. How do you do as far as the adjustment goes, right? I want to try to figure out what's a simple way to calculate a GLA, if you have like 3 or 4 sold comparables. And also, what are some of your standard like that you see for like pool? Is it worth 10 grand still? Is it worth 20 grand now? Like things like that. What can you tell us? Thank you.
It depends on the area. It all depends on the area. So if you're like in a low, I mean, it just depends on the price, the price index basically. So you can go anywhere from a pool from anywhere from 10 to like $50,000, even more sometimes. I mean, it is all depends. Anywhere from GLA from like $50 to like $100, $150. Every area is different. It just depends. What area do you usually deal with?
I'm here in the IE, like just track homes, Corona, track homes areas.
Yeah, it's the square footage is anywhere from $50 to $75 a square foot. You adjust in that area. pools are like $15,000 to $20,000 in the area.
But there's there a certain way how you look at like the 3, 4, 5 sold comp and you come up with a GLA to get an idea to make adjustment. If you're making your adjustments, that's what I'm trying to ask.
Oh, I'm saying, okay. What we do is anything after 100 square feet, we make an adjustment. So,
Right, right. No, yeah. Anything after 100 square feet, you make an adjustment. But how do you calculate the GLA if I was wanting to make an adjustment on the subject property, and then there's 3 other sold properties, each of them different square footage, but say similar square bedroom, bath, and within like 15% of the square footage.
Yeah, well, it just depends on the area, but we use something called a pair sales analysis where we research the comps and we look at the differences between, say, a 1,500 square house and a 1,700 square house. We look and see the difference. So that's how we calculate it. So
okay, so you have like a program just to spit out.
Well,
the number,
it's just 18 years of experience just doing it, figuring it out.
Okay, got it.
What I'm
Okay,
saying?
yeah.
So I mean, and the
you.
bed and bath count as well too. It just depends on the area. Every area is different. There's no, Corona or Montebello or whatever. There's different. It's different areas, different adjustments. Everywhere's different.
Steven,
Thank
would it
you.
help to go over the adjustments on this particular appraisal and how, because we have square footage that differs here. Can you maybe walk us through how you came up with the numbers that you came up with
Well, you know
here
what?
on this one?
Let me see. Hold on. Because let me see. In this situation, we did $40 per square foot. This is 2 years ago, so it was a while back. But in this area, East LA, is $40 per square foot, as you can see.
You want to walk through the comps on that, Steven, just really quick?
Well, comp one, our comp was 1,548 square feet, and this is 1,250 square feet. So the adjustment ended being a positive adjustment for 11,500 on comp number one. And see, there's hardly any adjustments on this appraisal. It's a pretty clean appraisal. The second comp was 8 square feet smaller than ours, so there's no adjustment. The next one is 1,719 square feet, which is $7,500 adjustment downward. These are pretty.
Does that make sense to everyone? Sorry.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
yes and
thumbs up.
no, because I just really want to look at it because I think for real estate agent, it really helps, especially when, we really appreciate you being on here. Kind of like teach real estate agent, like how do you comp a house? How do you make a judgment? What are some of like rule of thumb that you can help? Because with the way the market is right now, I know that, you try to be 5-10% of whatever the last one sold is, depends on where you live. But I just think that if you're talking to you teach us how to make your job easier, basically, or be able to tell a customer a little bit more, because I believe that, a lot of agents, they have no clue about appraisal.
Can I take that one, Steve? Maybe I can give it a shot. So,
Yeah,
Steven and Armando, would you guys use pending sales as well?
No, some lenders do want you to use pending and active sales, but not many anymore. We don't use them anymore, and we only base our value off closed sales, not pending or active, because they haven't closed yet. So it has to be a closed sale.
Okay, one other question. If you say you only use closed sale, and say if I have like 5 offers, I print out the first page, all those offers, give it to you, but it's all above the previous last 3 closed sale, will you consider that?
Well, we just got it. We base our value off closed sales. So
Okay, so if
Chris,
I give
Chris.
you, yes, sir.
Chris, closed sales. He's asked and answered. Let's
Got it.
move on. Okay.
yeah, I mean, there's a problem going on right now where we were talking about this yesterday, where you have 100 offers on a house, and they listed it for 500 and it's signed for 650. That's going to cause a problem, and it causes appraisers a problem because how are we supposed to justify $150,000 above what it was listed for, and there's no comparables? So we got to use what we have. We can't go off of what ifs or this pending sale is going to close in 2 weeks after I did the appraisal. It's not going to count. It has to be something that's closed. You get what I'm saying?
Okay, Steven, so a question. Here, what is your suggested price? I don't see that.
Oh, you got to go down the bottom a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I cannot see that.
580.
Okay.
So the adjusted sales on the bottom are after the adjustments. So you see right here, it says adjusted sales price of comparables. So it goes from 561 to 570 to 592. So I came in at 580. So we were $45,000 below
sales price.
It's up below the sales
I
price.
have a quick
And
question.
your subject property had a pool, right? So you're giving another
No,
adjustment?
there's no
No
pool. It says
pool.
none. None.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah.
This is a pretty basic appraisal. I mean, it was pretty straightforward. Everyone knew that the value was, I mean, everyone knew the value wasn't going to be there. They went way above what the market was. It was just,
What
you know,
was the
that's just
purchase price?
625.
Okay.
Yeah, this was a tough one as far as getting the value. There was no way.
Stephen, this is Abigail. I have a quick question. How did you arrive with the 11,500? Is that the difference from the purchase price and the list price, or how did you arrive, or do you use another system to arrive with the conclusion of 11,500?
This one was 1548. If you subtract 1548 from 1250 and you multiply it by 40, it equals 11,500. So we did $40 per square foot.
Oh, I see.
That, I mean,
Thank you for that. That's the formula that you guys use, right?
yeah. I mean, it was pretty low in this area back then. It was $40 per square foot, which is kind of low, but that was what the market was saying. Because if you can go up a little bit, Armando, I mean, down, yeah, right there. Go right there. If you look at the market, see the lowest comp is 550 and it's 1,200. The highest comp is 600 and it's 1,700. So there's a formula we use to figure out the GLA. And in our formula, it came out to $40 per square foot.
Oh, I see.
Steven? Oh, sorry.
What is GLA? Gross living, what?
I'm sorry, gross living area. Yeah, sorry.
Stephen, excuse me, this is Betty Fernandez.
Yes.
I was curious as to why you didn't make an adjustment on the lot size on the one that's substandard at 4,800 square feet.
On this situation, we only made adjustments after 2,000 square feet of site area in this area.
Really?
See, for units, it's a little bit different. It's because you're sharing the lot, so the 2,000 square feet doesn't make that much of a difference in this situation. So,
Right, but with the new laws, and I don't know, I'm in Ventura County, with the laws that now you can add an ADU, I think that with the 6,700 square foot lot, there might be room on there to add another structure, where with the 4,800 square foot lot, you wouldn't be allowed to because it's not big enough. So
well,
there,
in this situation, there's no way you can add ADU. There's no room in the subjects. There was no. It was. I don't remember what structures were on there because we don't have the sketch, but there was no way you can add a ADU on our lot.
okay.
But this is 2 years ago too. This is a little bit different. So this is, yeah. But in this situation, 2,000 square feet, I mean, is a lot. But in this situation, we didn't make an adjustment.
Okay, and what would your adjustment be if there was over 2,000 square feet?
It depends on the area, but anywhere from $2 to $5, sometimes even $10 a square foot for lot.
Okay, and then I overheard you talk about a pool. What would you adjust for a pool in this?
In this area, it would be considered an over improvement, so I wouldn't make them probably $10,000 because in units in East LA, there's no pools.
Yeah, not necessarily in units, in a regular single family right now.
In what area?
Well, I'm talking about my area, of course, Ventura County.
Yeah, I don't cover Ventura, so I wouldn't know. But anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 is the adjustment. It depends on the price index, and I mean some areas, you can't. It's hard because like there's no pools. Like some areas like Watts, South Central. There's no pools, so it's minimal. Somewhere like Palm Springs, the pool is worth way more because everyone has pools.
Yeah, and
You see what I'm saying?
all that.
Every appraisal is different. It's tough to give about adjustments because every appraisal is different. Every situation is different.
Yeah.
I have a question
Stephen,
about-
Stephen,
I have a question about the adjustment. I don't know if the math is correct, but the difference, 11,500, if you multiply that $40 per square foot, it comes to 11,920. So I don't know if I missed something or the calculations are wrong or what.
You know what? I don't know. I don't remember what happened, but we adjust down to 11,500. We round down or up. So in this situation,
Yeah, but you take the difference and you multiply it by $40 according to your estimate, it
God.
comes to 11,920, not
Really, are you kidding
11,500.
me?
We just rounded up to 11,500. We rounded it.
So you could go to 12,000, which is closer there.
Yeah, I mean, but in this situation, we just did 11,500.
Yeah, if you deal with a big square footage cost, then it will make a big difference. With $40, it doesn't show the difference, but if you had 200,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
yeah, the math there's something there with the math.
Any other questions before we move on? No? Anyone want to ask about ADUs? Because that's a big topic, right? How much value does an ADU give to the property? And we
I
had those
wanted to
questions
ask
yesterday.
about that because I heard him say that someone asked the question that, can you give credit to something that doesn't exist? So just because the land is there, how would you possibly give credit to a structure that's not there? Is that something that you would do, Stephen?
No, we just appraise for what's there. We don't do a future appraisals. We just do what's there, and that's it. I mean,
So what was the question about there being an extra 2,000 square feet? Does that matter? I mean, aren't you just basing it on whatever the square footage is from this particular property to another property?
Yes.
Not based on what the possibility would be for that property, right?
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
Right.
I mean,
but when-
yeah,
oh,
exactly.
Oh, so what I was saying, and this is Betty Fernandez again, is that in Ventura County, in order to add an ADU, your lot has to be a certain size. So let's say 60,000 square feet or more. And if you bought the first comp at 4,800 square feet, well, that would have never allowed for an additional ADU. That's why I was thinking the subject is more valuable than the first comp. And that's why I thought there should be an adjustment for the substandard lot. But that's, that's fine.
Mm. Yeah, I don't do Ventura County, sorry.
All right, you want to move on to the next one?
I have a quick
Anyone else have
question.
questions?
This is Iris. One time I ran into a home, the 3 bedrooms, but none of the bedroom has closet. So the owner removed all the closets when he remodeled, but by the time when we sell, there's no closet. So how significant does it affect the value?
What city was this in?
City of Baldwin Park.
So I would still give it credit for 3 bedroom, and I would put a cost to cure. So how much will it cost to put in a couple of closets? I mean,
I see.
Maybe couple $1,000.
$2,000 per room.
Yeah. So I would do a cost to cure of $6,000.
Oh.
And yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
That's what I would do. I a couple $1,000 out of closet, but if on tax records it's a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, I'll give it credit. If there's 3 bedrooms, but they took all the closets, I would just put on the appraisal cost to cure and see what they say. I mean, a lot of the times when we go out there, some people convert their bedroom into a dining room or whatever it is, even if they're using it as a dining room, but it has a closet and still a bedroom, we give it credit as a bedroom.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
It's not what they're using it for, it's what it's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people convert their bedroom into dens, or they knock down a wall. That causes a little problem, but we can do a cost to cure for that as well.
Okay, Stephen, I'm sorry to interrupt. I have a question, about a house that has like 1,350 square footage, but on title, since the property was built back on 1910, is just showing like 1 bedroom, but actually it's 3 bedroom. In that scenario, why would you do?
We give credit for 3. I'll give credit for 3 bedroom. I give credit for what's there. So a lot of times these tax records are very outdated, and especially, I mean, it's sometimes the square footage is off. So I give credit for what's there, but I make sure it's permitted. You got it?
What if title is only showing 1 bedroom, but of course the square footage is over 1,350?
Like I said, I just give credit for what's there, and it's a lot of times they do typos. They're very outdated. The tax records very outdated. So if they have closets and they're part of the square footage, I would give it credit as a 3 bedroom.
So in your eyes, it's not a big deal?
No, I just put a comment there explaining, I inspected it, and it's the GLA is what it is what it is, and it's a 3 bedroom, not a 1 bedroom, and credit was given for a 3 bedroom. Never any problems.
All right.
I
Thank
don't know
you.
if you guys want to talk about FHA as well. I mean, if you have questions about FHA appraisals or what,
I have a question. Again, I'm sorry, about VAs, because I think VAs are very
I don't
strict.
do VA, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Maybe I can answer your question for you because I do quite a bit of VA. So if you want to ask it, I'll see if I can answer it. And if not, I'll get an answer for you.
you know, I had a situation where the VA loan was done to a previous buyer, but they canceled and they gave like the value for 500, and now the new value went down because the VA was super strict. So how that can happen? It's not like the VA can be attached to the house like the FHA?
So it's attached for the type of financing that you're doing. So on an, for instance, if we did an FHA appraisal.
It was the same VA. It was previous VA and the new buyer was a VA as well.
Oh, got it. Then you would be, it goes into the VA portal. So that appraisal is going to be attached to the subject property. I believe it's either 90 days or 120 days before we can order a new one.
So why they were able to reduce the value on the appraisal?
I don't know that they would reduce the value, but what happens is once there's an appraisal done through the VA or even FHA, it goes into the system, and because the appraisers that are VA approved have to go through a lot of training, so the VA believes that that's correct, and they're gonna make us stick to it. So but the value shouldn't change from one buyer to the other. The value should remain the same because that appraisal is done once only. Am I understanding correctly?
That was my thinking, but they wanted to order a new appraisal, and the other appraisal, the newer, came lower. So now the seller didn't want it to sell because, of course, they were having in their mind this amount, you know.
Oh, that's odd. I'm not sure why that happened, but that shouldn't happen. Once they have an appraisal, it should stay with the property for as long as the appraisal is good.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, Steve. This is Michael. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Yes. I know sometimes when we call listing agents or banks, they are listing, they look like they're saying that their appraiser are a little lenient or different. I want to ask you, is the guideline for appraisal different depending on the lending institution?
No, just some appraisers are I mean, some appraisers nitpick everything and they think they're home inspectors, and some appraisers are, just go there, and if there's any health hazards, we call out. It just depends on the appraiser. Honestly, there's no, everyone's got to follow the same guidelines, especially FHA. I don't know if you guys do FHA loans, but basically for FHA, there's no chipping paint required. You must have a heating source, and for conventional and FHA, you have to have smoke detectors, CO detectors in every room. So one CO detector for each house. For just one CO detector, and smoke detectors in all the bedrooms and living room. Everyone's different. So it just depends. Some appraisers are a little bit more thorough, but everyone must follow the same guidelines. If there's any health hazards, we must call them out. But we're not home inspectors. So like it's in any profession, everyone's different. You know what I'm saying? So everyone is pretty much should follow the same guidelines.
Yeah, one thing that we say all the time is we have to remember that an appraisal is the appraiser's opinion of the value. That's why two appraisers might give you two different opinions, right? So
yeah.
Go ahead.
Everyone's different. It's tough because we must all follow the same guidelines, but at the same time, some appraisers are just different. I don't even know how to explain it. It's crazy. I've done houses where I've come in $50,000 than the appraiser before. So some appraisers are real conservative. Some are, I'm in the middle. I try to, just be fair but
I understand. Thank you. No, like I said, I was not questioning the appraisal. Some people that we call, they're talking about the institution. Oh, our appraisers, let's say there is a bank or there is some institution, they say they are very lenient. They are not appraisals for each bank. The appraisal is for everybody the same, right?
Yeah. So what do you mean lenient? What do you mean lenient?
Well, some people, sometimes when we call, I say, oh, don't worry about appraisal is very lenient and with the value. They're trying to let us know that there won't be issues with the appraisal and like with other ones. And I said, what do you mean? There is a different kind of appraisals depending on the bank or the seller? they should be all the same if they have the same guideline.
Yeah,
It doesn't
we-
matter
Can I
what
answer
the
that,
institution
Stephen?
Go ahead.
Can I answer that? So,
Yeah, go ahead.
Michael, I think, and I say that often because you all see Stephen, right? Stephen is very helpful. Stephen is going to take our comps. If Stephen misses something, he's going to take the rebuttal. So when I say my appraisals are very lenient, I don't mean that they're going to overlook things or inflate the value. I just mean that they're going to work with us. If the value is there, they're going to help us get there. But they're not going to over condition. There are some that are super, super conservative. And like I have an appraiser on my roster that every time he goes out to a property, he's going to call out 2 or 3 repairs. And nobody really wants those, but I almost feel like he goes out there with looking for those repairs to call out. So we try not to use people like that, unfortunately, because we don't want to make the deal difficult. We want to work with people that are open-minded and
That's right.
You know, so
like I told you before, as an appraiser, like I said, we could miss some comps. I mean, in my situation, I'm willing to help. I'm on Armando's team. We're a team. So if I make a mistake, I'll fix it. If I miss a comp, I'll fix it. If I mess up an adjustment, I'll fix it. Rents, I'll fix it. It's not whatever I have to do to make it right, I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? I try to make everyone happy, but at the same time, I have to follow my own rules and follow guidelines, and I can't push stuff, or I can't look the other way on, you know, like a broken heater or chipping paint. I gotta do my job. But at the same time, I'll help out as far as sales. If I missed a sale or something happened, you know what I mean? Sometimes we do mess up. You know, it's human nature. You know, so
I see.
So like I said, I'll help out as much as I can. I'm not the kind of guy who's just gonna say I'm done, or no, that's my value and that's it. I try to help out as much as I can.
Armando, quick question. Do you happen to have a list of the lender required repairs for FHA or conventional?
Let's talk about that. So for both FHA and conventional, what we're looking for is anything that's a health or safety concern, right? So something that we saw recently is broken tiles in the bathroom floor. If I walk barefoot, I can cut my foot. So that's a safety issue. Broken windows on both conventional and appraisal property or inspections, they're going to look out for those. The security release latches in some areas where we have security bars, those have to open because if the house catches fire, I need an exit, right? That's going to be both conventional and FHA. The true real, and Stephen will correct me if I'm wrong, the only differences between conventional and FHA appraisals are that on an FHA appraisal, we're going to have to test the utilities. We want to make sure the lights work. We want to make sure the water flows when you turn on the faucet. We want to make sure that the utilities are on and operable, and also that there's no chipping paint. Those are really the only 2 differences. Oh, the other difference on an FHA report is the appraiser needs to have access to the attic and crawl space. It doesn't mean they're going to crawl under the crawl space. They really just peek their head in there and take a photo of both the attic and the crawl space. But those are really the only differences. Would you agree with that, Stephen?
Yeah, and the permanent heating source for FHA, you must have a permanent heating source. You can't plug in a heater from Costco, and that has to be attached.
What about for conventional?
Conventional, I've seen houses where a lot of times no heaters, and the underwriter doesn't call it out.
Excellent.
And anything else? FHA, but chipping paint is a major concern.
Yeah, chipping paint is.
So anything that built after 1979 and newer, you don't. It's not really a concern. But like I was saying yesterday, sometimes the bank will have you fix the chipping paint even if it's built after that. But most of the time they don't. But because it's the lead-based paint was used before that. So 1978 and older, no chipping paint at all. It must be sanded and painted.
So for conventional, you cannot have broken windows. Is that correct?
No.
No broken
Just
windows.
think of
for both.
anything that's a health or safety issue, anything that can hurt someone, that, you know, something can happen where we have to address it on both FHA or conventional.
Yeah, and smoke detectors too as well. Every bedroom must have one, and one in the living room, and one in the hallway, and carbon monoxide one on each floor if there's 2 stories or 3 stories or whatever how many stories there are. You must have one carbon monoxide on each floor.
Armando, I got a question. For 2 units, they're in the Riverside County and they have a septic. Do the appraiser needs to get a certification on the septic, or is any conditions on that?
So any a septic tank certification, if it's on the contract, where on the contract it says that we're asking for a septic cert, the underwriter is going to ask for it. The appraiser doesn't ask for it, but the underwriter will. Same with
see.
a termite. If you ask for a termite, we're going to ask you for a copy of it. You can waive the termite on both FHA and conventional, but if the appraiser notices that there's obvious evidence of termite damage or infestation or dry rot and mentions it on the appraisal, the underwriter is going to require, on an FHA loan at least, the underwriter is going to require that we have a clearance on the termite. Sometimes the appraiser doesn't mention the dry rot, but the underwriter can see it on the photos. He or she will still call that out and ask us for it to be rectified. So I always say, when you take a look at it, if you see that something's there, let's address it or try to fix it before the appraiser gets out there. I always recommend that you don't schedule the appraisal and the home inspection at the same time, because sometimes we don't want the appraiser to hear what the home inspector is saying. So I always try to schedule them separately if at all possible.
One quick question about the VA loan with as far as with termite inspection goes. Now, is it correct that on VA loans, the seller has to pay for both section 1 and 2?
No, it used to be the case, but it's not the case anymore. We do need the termite inspection on every VA loan. It's required on every VA loan to have a completion, but now they do allow the buyer to pay for it if the buyer needs to.
Does it apply to FHA too?
No, FHA, the buyer, any party can pay for it, buyer or seller. Before, maybe about 15 years ago, maybe a little more, I'm aging myself, we had what they called VA non-allowables, where the VA borrower or the VA buyer was not able to pay certain things like processing fees, points, and things like that. Though that was actually removed, I want to say maybe 2007 or 2006. So you don't have that anymore, but that is still a misconception. Sometimes we see when listing agents, especially those that have been in the business longer, they believe that the seller will incur more charges if there's a VA offer that comes in.
Thank you.
Can a VA buyer offer more money over the appraisal?
Yes.
Question. Do the VA and FHA homes need to have stove, or can they be sold without a stove? Because it used to be that they had to have one.
Yeah, sometimes the underwriter will ask for a stove depending on the transaction on both VA and FHA, but the appraisers themselves don't call it out.
Okay.
Is that accurate, Steve?
Yeah, it's not a HUD guideline to have a stove.
It's not what? It's not a gun.
Not a HUD guideline.
Now, however,
All right.
if the property has an ADU, is any problem to having a stove there? Or like in the past, and in a guest quarter, you could not have a stove. Now with the ADU, is any regulations for appraisers?
No, you can have a stove. Yeah, most of the ADUs have nicer kitchens in the front house, so you can have a full kitchen, full stove, everything, as long as it's permitted.
The only other thing, guys, is if it's an unpermitted addition or conversion and there's an extra stove, that's not acceptable, right? So if we converted the garage and my cousin lives there and there's a stove, what we want to do is before the appraiser gets there, we want to remove the stove, cap the gas line. Everyone knows that when the appraiser leaves, they put the stove right back, but the appraiser doesn't know that, so don't tell them. But they don't want to have two stoves there, so just make sure you don't have the second one. Cool. I think are we?
And how are you assessing the value on the ADUs? Is it just the additional square footage?
No, we do it on a separate line. It's not part of the square footage. So a lot of listing agents are putting it totaling. Say the front house is 1,000 square feet and the ADU is 800. They're putting 1,800 square feet, which is not correct because it's not attached to the house. It's detached. So you have to put it on a separate line. So, and like I said, and ADUs, every area is different. So they can go from anywhere from like $30,000 to like $150,000 ADUs. It just depends on the area.
All right, we have about 5 minutes, so we'll take 2 more questions, and then if y'all have more questions, I'll put my phone number on the chat. Feel free to call me. We can jump on another call, and I'll get you answers if I don't know them.
All right. Other questions? That's funny. You tell them you're going to stop, and they stop. You didn't tell him you were gonna, okay, he's not gonna stop. Ask more questions. Steve, what do we need to know that we're not asking? What's something that you see occasionally that when it comes up, it could have been prevented, but it's kind of like too late now.
What I see a problem with is always times the smoke detectors, water heaters double strapped. That's what I mostly see is a problem where there's no smoke detectors in the whole house, and the agent could have, saved their client money, or the buyer money. They would just had the smoke detectors and carbon monoxide up. Water heater double strapped. A lot of the time it's not double strapped. And FHA, I'm talking like chipping paint. A situation I ran the other day is I did a vacant house and I called the agent, told them I was on my way. They never responded. So I get to the house, I couldn't find the crawl space anywhere. So I called the agent, say I can't find the crawl space. They never called me back. The next day they called me, oh, it was in the closet underneath some carpet. And you have to rip the carpet out. And I didn't know that. So now I'm gonna have to charge for a reinspection, and it could have been easily avoided if they would have just answered their phone and let me know before. Or a lot of time we don't have access when we do a vacant house. We don't have access to the whole house. The garage isn't accessible. There's no key. So everything should be open for the appraiser, or the agents should try to meet you there so they can help you out. So a lot of stuff could be avoided. Window bars are a big thing. Each bedroom must have either a safety release latch or an exit path. So either a door or one of the window bars has to be taken off in case there's a fire. That's a big thing too. But as far as that, and letting us know if there's any additions to the property or added pool. Sometimes it doesn't come up on our information. But that's more for refinances. Because when we do a purchase, a lot of the information is on MLS.
Can I ask you about the smoke detector and the water heater strapping? In the new contract, it gives somebody a certain amount of time. They have to say who's going to pay for it to get that done. And it says that if the seller's responsibility and it's not done, they're going to have to pay for the reinspection. So do you actually do a reinspection for the water heater and the smoke detectors, or is that a picture thing that we can send in?
No, we usually go out there and take pictures of everything that's
So
been
you
corrected.
do? Okay.
Yes.
Good to know.
Yeah, it's they call it 1004D. So we do a 1004D and we do fill out a form and we add what's been corrected on there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
What does it cost for a reinspection?
I think that it's anywhere. I don't know how much the AMCs charge, but we get anywhere from like $100 to like $200 for a reinspection.
You, the appraiser.
Yeah, so I don't know what they charged. They probably charge the client like anywhere from like $150 to $300 for reinspection.
Armando, do you know that number?
So for us, we don't charge reinspection fees. What we've done is we've worked out a deal with all our appraisers, including Steven, where we don't charge our clients reinspection for one. If they have to go back a third time, it's $125.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. Very cool. Okay. Great job. Excellent information. It's amazing what we don't know about all the different little things that can come up. So we really appreciate this, Armando, bringing us Steve and getting this stuff taken care of. And, we'll have you guys back and probably 4 or 5 months to do a recap, because I'm sure there's a ton of stuff we still don't know about. They put Armando's and Steve's contact information in there. I said, technically, Steven, if we're doing a loan, we really can't hire you directly, can we? If like I'm doing a loan with B of A and I can't really hire you directly. Is that correct?
The chances, if you work with Armando, chances of me getting the appraisal are right, Armando? They're pretty good, right?
They're 25%.
Yeah. So, but if agents that need help on what I was saying yesterday is that I do a lot of appraisals for top agents around the area. If they have a listing and then they're unsure about the price or they're fighting with their seller, I do an appraisal before they even list the property.
So you'll do a drive-by appraisal?
I can do a drive-by, a full, whatever you need, and I do a lot of them. I do a lot of them for the top agents around the area.
How
I'm in
much-
Whittier.
So when you say you do an appraisal, do you charge for it?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that's great. Fantastic. It's good to know. But the appraisal that you would do for us in advance to help get the pricing isn't necessarily going to be the appraisal that Armando or any of the others could use, even if they did use you, or could they?
No.
use-
Yeah, you can't use it. It's not for non-lending purposes, but I mean it helps, list the house or set a price if you have problems, You want to
Roughly
show
how
you.
much, I'm sorry, Stephen, roughly, I didn't mean to be rude. How much do you usually charge for an appraiser?
It depends on the area and how big and how far away it is, but anywhere from like 350, for single family. I mean, depending how big it is and how far. And units are like $500-$600 for units for duplexes, triplex, and quadruplexes. It's on a case by case basis.
Excellent. Okay.
Those numbers are different if you're financing. If you're financing, we're looking at 525 on a single family home and 650 on units. When Steven goes out and does a non-financing report, it goes on a different form. So he's able to charge less also too, because he's not dealing with an AMC that's going to take, part of that fee. So he passes on the savings to your seller in that example.
All right, good stuff. All right, everybody, unmute yourselves. Let's give them a big hand. Woo! All right. Good job, good job, good job. Excellent. Thank you guys very, very much. Very informative, very cool. Also, Armando and Steven, whoever